Once upon a time in a distant land, there ruled a king named Ratan Pal. He was not only a just king, but was also famous for his wisdom and sense of justice. His kingdom was peaceful, and his subjects were prosperous. King Ratan Pal had three ministers who were highly capable, loyal, and wise. The first minister's name was Vijay Singh. He was a brave soldier and an expert in military affairs. The second minister's name was Deepak Rai. He was an expert in economics and finance. The third minister's name was Amir Hussain. He was a scholar of philosophy, literature, and social matters. These three ministers were masters in their respective fields and proved to be extremely helpful to the king. One day, King Ratan Pal felt that he was growing old and needed to think about his successor. He had three sons, but he could not decide which of them was worthy of becoming his heir. He wanted his successor to be not only brave and intelligent, but also capable of winning the hearts of the people. One day the king held a court and addressed his three ministers. "O my loyal ministers, the three of you have been with me for years, and I am proud of your loyalty and service. I am faced with a difficult decision. I wish to choose my successor, but I am having trouble deciding which of my three sons is worthy of the throne." The ministers listened to the king carefully. The first minister, Vijay Singh, said, "Your Majesty, all three of your sons are capable. The eldest prince, Virendra, has leadership qualities. The middle prince, Suraj, has deep thinking abilities, while the youngest prince, Ravindra, has a sense of empathy for the subjects." The king smiled and replied, "What you say is true, but I want the three of you to test my sons and evaluate their capabilities. I want each of you to take one prince under your wing and train him in your respective fields. After 3 months, we will see how much each prince has progressed." The three ministers agreed to the king's request, and the training began the very next day. Minister Vijay Singh took the eldest prince, Virendra, under his care. He began giving the prince military training. He took him to the military cantonment, taught him military strategy, and trained him in spear fighting, archery, and horse riding. Prince Virendra was already brave, but Minister Vijay Singh instilled in him the habits of discipline and patience. One day, the minister and the prince were engaged in a military exercise when suddenly a poor farmer arrived and complained to the soldiers that the army's horses had trampled his crops. At first, Prince Virendra was angry that a common farmer was interfering in military matters, but Minister Vijay Singh stopped him and listened to the farmer. The minister said to the prince, "Prince, being brave is not enough to become a good ruler. You must learn to listen to your subjects and understand their problems. The purpose of the army is not only to fight enemies, but also to protect the people." The prince listened carefully to the minister and ordered compensation for the farmer. That day, the prince learned the true meaning of the right use of power. The second minister, Deepak Rai, took the middle prince, Suraj, under his care. He began teaching the prince about the kingdom's economic affairs. He introduced him to the systems of the treasury, taxes, trade, and agriculture. Prince Suraj was already intelligent and quickly learned complex calculations. One day, Minister Deepak Rai took the prince to the market, where they saw a merchant overcharging poor customers. Prince Suraj immediately calculated how much unfair profit the merchant was making, but Minister Deepak Rai stopped him and said, "Prince, numbers and calculations are important, but human compassion is even more crucial. Do not just chase numbers. Understand people's feelings and needs as well." The minister explained to the prince that although the merchant's behavior was wrong, it was essential to understand why he was doing it before punishing him. It turned out that the merchant was in debt and was forced to do this to repay it. The prince helped the merchant pay off his debt and explained to him that he should work honestly. That day, the prince learned that economics is not just a game of numbers, but also about human relationships. The third minister, Amir Hussain, took the youngest prince, Ravindra, under his care. He began teaching the prince social sciences, philosophy, literature, and history. Prince Ravindra was already soft-hearted, and Minister Amir Hussain further nurtured his sense of justice and compassion. One day, the minister took the prince to a poor neighborhood where people were living in extreme poverty. Prince Ravindra was deeply moved and immediately wanted to help them, but Minister Amir Hussain stopped him and said, "Prince, providing immediate help is good, But it is even better to reach the root of the problems that are pushing them into poverty. The minister explained to the prince that giving charity is a temporary solution. The real solution is to provide education, employment opportunities, and social justice. Following the minister's advice, the prince established a school there and created employment opportunities for the people. That day, the prince learned that compassion does not mean just giving alms to the poor, but empowering them to become self-reliant. When the 3-month period was over, King Ratan Pal called his 3 sons and asked them about their experiences. Each prince talked about his training and the lessons he had learned. The king smiled and said, "All 3 of you have learned a great deal, but now I wish to test you further. Each of you will be given responsibility for a part of the kingdom for 1 month. You will have to solve the problems there." The princes agreed to this test. The eldest prince, Virendra, was given responsibility for the northern part of the kingdom, a mountainous area inhabited mostly by nomads. The middle prince, Suraj, was given the eastern part, a trade center. The youngest prince, Ravindra, was given the western part, an agricultural area. When Prince Virendra arrived in the northern part, he learned that there was tension between the people and the army. The nomadic people were complaining that the soldiers seized their animals and mistreated them. The soldiers claimed that these people were making suspicious movements near the border. The prince remembered Minister Vijay Singh's training. He sat both parties down at a table and listened to them. He explained to the soldiers that the nomads were innocent and that their livelihood depended on their animals. On the other hand, he told the nomads to register at the military checkpoints so the soldiers would not be suspicious. Additionally, the prince arranged a friendly competition between the soldiers and the nomadic youth, featuring archery and horse riding contests. This fostered friendship between the 2 groups, and the problem was resolved. When Prince Suraj arrived in the eastern part, he found that merchants and shopkeepers were complaining about rising inflation. The common people were troubled by the high prices. The prince remembered Minister Deepak Rai's training and carefully reviewed the economic matters. He saw that the tax rate was very high, and some merchants were hoarding goods. The prince reduced the tax rate appropriately and took strict action against those hoarding goods. Furthermore, he established a system to connect farmers directly to the market so that middlemen could not exploit them. These measures brought inflation under control, benefiting both the merchants and the public. When Prince Ravindra arrived in the western part, he learned that the farmers there were distressed due to flood damage. Every year, floods would destroy their crops, and they were burdened with debt. The prince remembered Minister Amir Hussein's training. Instead of just giving donations, he decided to get to the root of the problem. He called in experts and developed a plan to build dams on the rivers. Additionally, he encouraged farmers to grow crops that could withstand floods as an alternative to the flood-affected ones. The prince got the farmers' loans waived and provided them with financial assistance to start farming anew. His measures began to improve the farmers' condition. When the princes returned after fulfilling their rinam,